All right, welcome to Let's Talk About It. Another episode. My name's Coach Layton, Coach Drew, whatever you want to call me. We got Coach Patterson, Triple B, and Coach James Delgado of Riverdale High School tuning in with us. Today's topic, what are you using your platform for? But before we jump into this thing, we're going to go ahead and pay these bills and get this intro right. Y'all know how we do.
If you ever feeling rejected, neglected, or even dyslexic, Q&A, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Wisdom, knowledge, and guidance, we all seeking to find them. Q&A, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Adversity a part of life, sometimes we fail before we get it right. Q&A, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. No one is above the other. As brothers, we must uplift each other. Q&A, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Let's Talk About It is sponsored by Hard Hat Construction, where we build dreams with trust and quality work. Contact Jamie Allen at 239-648-5867, where you dream big and we grind harder. Fellas, what's up? What's up? Tuned in. Let's talk about it, Coach. We have Coach James Delgado in the building. Triple B. Coach James just did this. We're trying to figure it out. What's happening, fellas?
You already know. Hey, it's the A.
Got your back, Coach?
Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
No, bro. You're taking up the shots, ain't you?
Don't run and duck. Don't run.
No, Mike. Huh?
I
Coach
thought
Mike,
I was
where
good,
are
man.
you?
I'm in South Georgia.
Hey, no, Coach Mike.
Right
Hey,
outside of Bingley.
yeah, Coach.
So
Coach
Yeah, we got a palm tree sitting up in the country, man.
So
And
you over
then
there
you got this. I bet y'all ain't seen this. With a palm tree.
Hey,
yeah.
well, you think these gunshots are heavy? Hey, where's your dog at? Hey, where's your dog at, Coach Mike? And
He ran
away, man. He ran away.
Hey, Coach Delgado, man, right now, man. Good morning, fellas. We have a topic, and Triple B introduced this to me. He sent us a podcast, and guys, shout out to Jay Jones. We're talking about platforms, and you over there at high school, at Riverdale High School, and you build a platform for yourself. But before we get into that, I want you to briefly, tell our viewers, who is James Delgado? How did you get to where you are at right now? You know what I'm saying? And, what's going on in your life right now, bro?
Well, I appreciate y'all having me. It's a pleasure to join you.
Yes.
I tune in often and love what y'all do, far beyond the show, but in the community. So I'm not going to go all the way into it because we'll be here all morning, but I grew up in Florida. I grew up in Apopka, and football is everything there, and was really fortunate to be coached by men who instilled values and were Christian men who taught us what it meant to be a man. And in having that, we were held to a really high standard on and off the field. And so we were fortunate, in my junior year, we won a state championship. We beat Miami Northwestern, the first championship in school history, the first state championship in Central Florida. And after that, went off to college, played at Webber International, Got the great opportunity to play there when the program first started, and truly played. And so after 4 years of playing and doing everything that I could as a player, I got the opportunity to become a graduate assistant, and immediately I fell in love with coaching. You know, I originally was a finance major. I thought I wanted to help people, and maybe financially I could do that. But as soon as I started coaching, I realized this is what I'm meant to be doing. And I firmly believe that there's a lot of people that call themselves coach, but there are those who are called to coach. This is my calling. This is my ministry. And so, you know, every day I wake up and I go to work loving what I do. And so after I was done coaching in college, I knew I wanted to marry the girl that I'm currently married to now. And I said, I better make some money. So I started teaching and coaching high school football. I went to Osceola in Kissimmee. We had great success there. And eventually I went back to Apopka. And while I was there, we won 2 more state championships, one against Miami Columbus and the other one against Cypress Bay. And we lost in a third one that we played in against South Dade. And that loss haunts me all the time. But after being there for about 6 years, I knew God was calling me to just go do all the good we were doing there somewhere else. My wife's originally from this area. We were near my family for 6 years. And I said, you know, what if we move down there to Southwest Florida and be near your family? And my wife was not a fan of that. She loved Central Florida, loved where we were living, loved the people we were with there. But she eventually, you know, agreed, and I interviewed at Riverdale. It was the only place I interviewed at, and fell in love with the place, fell in love with the people. I saw a lot of similarities in Riverdale to Apopka, especially when I was in school. It was like going back in time in some ways. And so that's what brought us down here. And ever since, all I've been trying to do is make a difference with the kids that I get to work with on a daily basis. And so it's been a tremendous blessing, man. I've enjoyed every bit of it. You still got me?
Yeah, I mean, I can't hear him.
Oh man, did you lose me?
No, I still got. We still got you, but I can hear. I can hear Andrew now.
Okay, I got you.
All right, so you came in, you know, first year, and you know, a program that, you know what I'm saying, has been up and down, because Riverdale has history. We're not going to sit up here and act like Riverdale has been a slouch its whole life. Riverdale has some rich history. And, you know, so it was standards there. You came in, you know, you work your magic, you did your thing, but then the 10-0 season, you feel me? Phenomenal season. You know, you got the guys to break to buy into, you know what I'm saying, the culture. You know, how did you create or utilize that platform to build that program that Riverdale gave you?
So I think coming into Riverdale, like you said, there'd been history of success in glimpses, but like small glimpses, and there'd always been talent, but for whatever reason, talent would come through the building and then transfer out and go to other places. And so the first thing I said was, well, we've got to change that. We've got to make it so good here that once you're here, the real ones will never quit and they'll never transfer. And that's what we were able to do right away. The guys were hungry for change. They were desperate to do things in a way that was going to lead to championship culture. And the first thing I said was, just like Bo Schembechler at Michigan, it was those who stay will be champions. And that's been our slogan. It stays our slogan. And it's way more than just district championships or regional championships or state championships. We're building men. We're building champions in life. And I think that in doing that, and really just saying, you know what, this is the standard. We're not going to back down from it. You're going to either meet it or you're going to figure out that maybe that this ain't really for you. And the guys bought in, and in that year that we went 10-0, it was a perfect mix of talent and a schedule that was, you know, it was just timing, right? Other people might have been down. We happened to be up. But as far as like execution and things and the platform given, it's always been and it's always going to be building men. It's always going to be building champions for life. Like we're about, let's face it, fellas, like if we played, you play 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, maybe if you were, Pop Warner phenom and you played for 10 years, but you go off to the NFL, the average lifespan in the league is 3 years. So you're talking about preparing life. Like these cats, football's going to come to an end. And when it does, it's all the things that you do to build up to it, it's futile. If you're not teaching them how to be men, if you're not teaching them how to be better fathers, better husbands, better employees one day, then we're failing as coaches.
Exactly.
Hey, you know what's very, very interesting, very, very interesting. In this, when my senior year, we had a horrific tragedy that happened during the football year. We started out 3-0 and something happened. And then like pretty much our football season kind of went downhill and it was a death of one of the football players. And, Naples had been like a laughing stock for 20 years in football. Like nobody, terrible, terrible team, right?
Finished off on that our senior year.
Yeah, and then in that whole tragedy brought pretty much the whole football program and every football player. Matter of fact, the class that kid was supposed to graduate was, and the reason I brought that question up because I remember tragedy that happened to Riverdale that I think that year. Can you talk about how that whole tragedy and the trauma bonding, kind of almost changed the complexity of your program?
Well, before I talk about that, was that Coach Kramer's first couple of years there?
No, Coach Kramer's first year. Yeah, we had a death on the football team. Yep. Right.
So yeah, there are parallels there because it was very similar to me. We obviously had the tragic loss of one of our players. And you're right. I mean, it definitely, everybody, we talk about being tight like a family and our program, like it genuinely is that way. Our kids, regardless of what your socioeconomic background is or your religion or your, the color of your skin, none of that matters. You're a family. And we wholeheartedly believe that, buy into that. Like our guys don't lock up the locker room. They don't have to worry about things getting taken out of their lockers, their phones, their jewelry, whatever. Like we don't have those types of issues because first of all, that's the first way you'll get cut from my team. If you're a thief, we got no room for you. I tell the guys, if you're thinking you can steal, I tell them real plainly, if you steal, if you'll lie, you'll steal. And if you steal, you'll kill. And it progresses and that's extreme, but I can't trust you. First thing, tell the truth. But back to your question, absolutely. That was a tragic loss. It was incredibly difficult for everyone in our program and in our community. And those kids absolutely rallied together. And, the year we did have tremendous success would have been that young man's senior year. And so those were all his teammates that kind of came up with him. So very similar to your situation, Coach Black, like same deal is one of those deals where, in football, we reference John 15:13 a lot. Like that to me is what burn the boats is. It's no greater love have a man that he lay down his life for his friends. That to me is the ultimate sacrifice of being selfless and kind of saying my personal accolades aren't as important as the team, like big team, little me. It's all the same message, different ways of saying it. But absolutely. I think, when guys are fully committed and invested in working towards a common goal together, special things happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I remember we had a show and we had a couple of the Riverdale
young men on. Yep.
Kids.
I remember.
And a lot of them. Yeah, a lot of them, like, they really thought about that tragedy and did dedicate themselves, to raise that guy's legacy. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
School and stuff like that. That was very special.
No doubt.
So, real quick, right now. So let's shift a little bit. So, your platform, you get it. Like understand that football is a means to an end. You feel me? How, important is it that, you teach? Because I heard you say in your conversation, you're not coaching football, you're coaching life, and when you say that, can you, what I'm saying, please kind of like give people the importance of your job, because you have their kids, like a majority of the time, and you go through a transitional period of, especially when they get freshmen to seniors, you see them change physically and mentally.
No
So
doubt.
how do you prepare them for the walk of life afterwards? You know what I'm saying? Because they're not all going to the NFL.
Right. Well, to me, and I know you can certainly relate to this. To me, education is the key. Like education is the only thing that separated me from the rest of my family. I was the first one to go to college. I was the first one to just basically change some of the generational stuff that we had battled through. And then that changes everything for everybody that comes after you. But to me, we hold our kids to a really high standard from the very get-go. It's like in everything that you do, you're going to pull your pants up. You're not going to wear your earrings with your jersey. Like you can wear your earrings any other time, but on game day, we all look the same. We're going to make sure that you keep a 2.75 weekly GPA. Not like 2.75 for the year. No, every week we check those grades. And if your GPA is under 2.75, your tail's in study hall. And so if you misbehave in class, to me, I learned this early as a young coach. It's like the team or sometimes a young person's greatest achievement will be your lowest expectation. And so we set the bar extremely high and say, you're going to meet this. And as a freshman, it's like, man, there's no way I can meet that. Heck, I can barely walk and chew gum. But by the time they are a senior, it's like, oh my gosh, I remember the struggles I had as a freshman, and now it's amazing. Like you said, that transition from being a boy to a man is special. And for every kid, it's different. It looks different. It happens at different times. And to me, it's like, okay, you love football. You play football now. You think you love it enough to play in college. Well, we're going to run our program like a college program so that when you get the opportunity to go play, whether it's at the NAIA level, the D2, D1 level, if it's the D3 level, whatever level it is, it's work. It's a job. So if you get the opportunity, which we have a bunch of guys that have and do, when you get there, you're going to be prepared for it because you're going to know what the expectations are. You're going to know what it means to be somewhere on time. You're going to know what it is to be up at 5 a.m. for a 5:15 wake up call and a 5:30 lift. You know what I mean? So all that stuff is preparing them. And then when college ball ends, if they're special enough to go off to the NFL, which, we have a couple cats that I think down the road, I think, Cole Schneider, who I didn't get to coach. I came in right before he left. He's at UCF, about to have his senior year. I think he's about to be a dude that goes way up as long as he wants to on draft boards. But, Finley Felix is a kid that when I got there had nowhere to go, and we got him into Coffeyville Community College. Now he's at Oklahoma. He's another cat that projects that high. There's all kinds of cats that – when they get there, they're like, dang, coach, thank you so much. Thank you for preparing me, because there's other fools running around here that don't know how to do anything. They're struggling. They're constantly in trouble. And this is easy. It's a breeze compared to what we did in high school. And so I think preparing them that way gets them ready for college, and not just get there. Don't go to school and come back 3 weeks later and tell me, oh, it wasn't a good fit. Then guess what? I didn't do my job as a coach, because if you're talented enough to get there, it's my job to make sure you're disciplined enough to stay. So, to me, that's what it's all about. And the same responsibility, the same expectations go into being an employee, go into being a parent, go into being a husband. So, that's the thing to me. That's what it's all about.
So now, real quick, and I'll let Coach Mike get his question in. You said early in the conversation about, gearing people and preparing kids for college. in this process, a lot of parents come to you about information, and sometimes they don't like to hear the real information, and that
Sure.
is your kid doesn't fit the mold of this school. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? How do you get parents and your athletes to understand? Listen, I'm trying to get you to the best school that fits you academically, as well as what I'm saying, on the field. How do you go
Sure.
about doing that now? Because I know that was difficult.
Yeah, it's super hard. And every family's different. Every dynamic's different. Every circle of influence is different, right? Just because you might get the kid on board or on the same page as you are, they're hearing things in the community or they're hearing things at home. And let's face it, at the end of the day, as a parent, it's your prerogative to think your child is the best thing that's ever walked the face of the earth, right? So that's I get that. However, I think I'm fortunate in the sense that my parents know that I want the best for their sons. Like I love their kids. Like it is, there's no question about it. And so for me, it's like, okay, you want to go to that school? Well, let me explain to you a couple things, because if you're set on going there academically and that's the route you want to go, perfect, great. Then let's make sure you're setting yourself up to go there and be a student. But don't think about being a student athlete, because that's another level. And I always tell them too, at the end of the day, my degree from Weber International University weighs just as much as the cat from USC or from Stanford. That paper is the same size. And guess what? People don't really look at who gave you the degree as much as whether or not you have it. So if you're serious about playing college athletics and you want to be a student athlete, then this is the route you go down to get. It's a business, right? So you're going to pay X amount to go here, and you're going to have to come out of pocket this little amount to go there. And then, okay, yeah, quality of life, where you live, when can I see them, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? If they're a student athlete, it doesn't matter if they're going to, let's say FGCU had a football team. They could be right here in our own backyard. You ain't going to see them. They're working a 24/7 full-time job. Guess what? You'll see them at the same time as everybody else. Thanksgiving, Christmas, maybe spring break. Okay? Because summer is included in that work too. So it's like, don't think that proximity or the notoriety of a school is everything. At the end of the day, the education is what matters. And as a society, we're so jaded, and like social media has ruined the process of what it means to really be recruited and also fit, right? Like it's all about how many likes you get and how many retweets or how many, follows and shares you get, instead of it being what let's face it, man, at the end of the day, if you ain't doing what you're meant to be doing, you're missing it. Like it's not for everybody. So let's dig a little deeper than what the name of the school is and find out where it is that you're supposed to be, or what it is you're supposed to do.
Exactly. Now, Coach Mike, you had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Coach, I follow you on Twitter, man, and I see you constantly posting pictures of your student athletes that have left and they're coming back to the program. Now, how big is that for your program and for the younger kids coming through to see that?
First of all, I love seeing those guys when they come back. Like, it makes my heart so glad to see that they're doing well. And even the cats that are working down the street at the fire station, or they're going to FGCU as a student and not, they're not, or FSW, or they didn't go to school at all. If they're, working at FedEx and doing well, whatever the case is, running a family business, it doesn't matter. I love seeing guys that came through our program because of the growth. And it's sometimes I see them and it's like, golly, I wish you looked like that when you played. Because I bet you could do a heck of a lot more now. They hit that growth spurt late or something. So, to me, and you know how it is, those guys' schedules are, and with COVID too, it doesn't happen nearly as often as you want. But dang, when it does, it makes me so proud. Like, it makes me so excited. My goal every year, honestly, is to be good enough to be playing in the postseason and be playing on the week of Thanksgiving, so that when all those cats come home, they can come right to the field on Friday night and see what we're doing. Just like it was at Dunbar late in the playoffs, regional. Everybody was there, right? Everybody was there to see that game. I mean, there was no room, right?
Yes.
So To me, I want to have to rope off the field because there's so many dang spectators there around the track. Like, that's what I grew up with. That was a Popka football. And in my mind, it's like, why not us? So if you leave our program and you go off and whatever it is, you graduate from our school and you graduate from our program, you always got a home there. And I don't care. Like, I'll drop what I'm doing and take you around school. You want to go see somebody? Okay, let's go. But I'm hoping that with COVID, kind of hopefully the vaccine and everything else, we get back to that.
Right. Now, Coach, let's go back to social media. And that's, one of the biggest things why we're saying platforms. What are you using your platform for? And you were explaining about how social media is tainting everybody's, perception of everything. So now let's put it in a positive light and change it. So because it's not going anywhere.
No doubt.
One of the things that I was implementing at my last spot was social media counseling and social media instructions of how to go about properly growing your social media and using your platform the right way, because you saw it. I saw it. John Triple B saw it. Coach Mike, I'm sure you saw it. Of these kids just putting whatever on there.
Yes.
So right now, that's what our summer camp is about. Connect your brand, about helping these kids. Understanding how powerful their platform is through social media. And understanding that don't taint their brand.
Right.
You get. This is a very profitable business, and. And the kids are the product. How do you help your kids, filter through, that social media journey? Because it can get overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is that when we get done with this, I want you to send me some of that content you were using to teach that class, because I'm always looking to get better and steal ideas and implement what I can to help our kids. But one thing,
listen, Coach, listen. Let's do this. If you can set it up, me and my team, we're better yet. We'll just come up there and we'll do it for you. Free.
Perfect. So then we'll just add to the things they've already heard, because here's what they know. In our program, one of the pillars is a good name to be more desired than great riches, and favors better than silver and gold. It takes a long time to earn a good name. It takes a long time for people to look at you and say, man, that's a quality individual. It takes one instant, one mistake, one bad post to immediately negate all the good you've done, all the positive changes you've made. It takes one negative, and our society is structured this way. The media is structured this way. You don't hear about all the great things happening in the community. You hear about all the negative things. So I tell our guys very plainly, when it comes to social media, two things. Understand this. Number one, you'll tarnish and you'll ruin your name, and your name is way bigger than you. It was given to you. You didn't get to choose that. You represent more than just yourself. You represent your family. You represent our football team, our program, our school, our community. If you want to be a part of this program, you carry that weight. The second thing is, when it comes to social media, you don't post anything degrading, negative, condescending about anybody else or anyone else's program. You use it as a platform of positivity and encouragement for guys in our program. So, to me, my biggest thing always, and I have a zero tolerance on this, we're going to play whoever next week, and cats want to start mouthing off on social media, let me find it, because it's the first thing that I'm going to post all over our locker room. It's the first thing I'm going to use as motivation for our guys to go out there and handle their business. Why? Because it's easy, right? So our guys know very clearly, you don't take it upon yourself to send a message from our team. You get to do that when you line up on Friday night. And then at the end of the game, the scoreboard will be the final message. So you don't have to use your thumbs for that. Just keep those in your pocket and do the freaking work.
I'm glad you woke up, boy. By the time you fired a shot, Triple B, dropping jewels all day.
Anyways, hey, you know what? It's crazy with the social media thing. Is they used to say it take at least 10 years to become an overnight success. But the thing about it is now you can use that you can lose that overnight success in just a moment of Twitter fingerness.
Yeah.
You know, hey, it can come and go that fast. You know, like for instance, anybody in any coach. I don't care if you become a head coach. It's probably going to take a minimum of 10 years for you to get that first taste of of victory or whatever it is.
Sure.
But all it takes is a couple angry moments of a moment that can bring that whole thing down. That's crazy.
Yes.
And it's all about perception too. You know what? Think about it. You could be the greatest football player ever, but if your image is tarnished on social media, guess what? You sorry. Like for instance, like Cam Newton. Cam Newton is a Super Bowl. I mean, like he played in the Super Bowl. He won the MVP. He was a first overall pick. He was a Heisman Trophy winner, first overall pick,
national champion at Auburn too.
I know, but if you go in some of these social media, like you go on YouTube, like on what's the name, like Facebook, right? He just signed a new contract, and because they don't like him as a person, of maybe something that he said in the media or whatever, these guys are trashing him. Like you would think. Not watching a day of football, you would think he was a scrub.
Right.
You literally would think. One dude was like, hey, you know what? That's great for Cam Newton. He's no good anymore. He needs to be a backup. He needs to be I'm like, what are you talking about? The guy's 32 years old. I'm just using that one as an example as, perception a lot of times on social media. It may not be reality, but it's a lot of people's reality. That's the part that you don't like. A lot of these kids don't understand. It's like you can make one mistake. Now that 4-4 that you run, those touchdowns that you run don't matter no more.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
And that's the big reason behind it, because if you're that person and you're utilizing your social media, to understand and understand what social media is for, because I promise you, if you become a superstar, you're going to get enough outside haters bad mouthing you about something that you don't need to post the negative stuff. Let them post the negative stuff and let them post the BS. You continuously post, things that's enlightening, positive, and that's what we try to use this. Like, that is what Let's Talk About It is about. Straight up and down, there's no, I favor this school or that school. No, this is a platform for the kids only to come here, get coaches on like you, talk and hang out with us to enlighten them on, the situations of, this game we love to play. We love to coach.
No doubt.
And show them how deep it really is. It's not just, X's and O's to us, because I had to think about this. And Coach, you've been playing ball. When did you start playing football?
So I started playing when I was in high school, and as a freshman, because in Pop Warner I was always too heavy, so I played little league baseball.
You like the unlimited stuff right now.
Yeah, so like AAU wasn't even a thing back then. There was no Under Armour. There was no, you know how it is. There's none of that. So FBU, that wasn't a thing. So I played little league baseball in middle school, and then when I got to high school, I was like, okay, I'll try football. And fellas, I promise you, I almost quit as a freshman. And thank God for Coach King. Coach King came and found me, because it was like the first 3 days we're doing nothing but running around this field. And I'm like, man, I guess the football really ain't for me, because I'm not the guy. I ain't no distance runner. So
that's Johnson right there, man.
Right. So I tried to disappear like a thief in the night, and that joker came and sought me out, and we talk often, Coach King and I. And he wasn't even my varsity coach by the time I graduated, but as a freshman, he was our freshman football coach. And that man saved my life, truly, because had I just quit like so many people had before and so many have since, we wouldn't be talking right now. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, undoubtedly. And who knows, maybe I never go to college. You know, like you said earlier, football is a vehicle that helps point you in the right direction, but the education is what drives it. The education is what created the opportunity for me to just make a difference in somebody else's life. Now I get to pay it forward every single day.
Yeah. Now, a question real quick, and we're going to dive a little deep. So you sit up here and you realize, and Johnson, I think you're like this, you have this kid and, you know, they have this parents that's making their kid out to be more than what they are. How you feel me? Because everybody deals with, you know, man, that family. We ain't gonna say that dad or that mom. We're gonna say that family.
Right. You know what? You know, in our program, we don't cut kids. Mm-hmm. And so essentially, if somebody doesn't make it in our program, they cut themselves, you know, for whatever the reason is. Parents, you know, the show Numbers Never Lie. You remember that? So I don't even know if it airs anymore. I don't watch that much TV anymore, but the numbers never lie. And I track everything. I'm talking about every single attendance, every GPA, obviously, every single thing that you could possibly do that's measurable. I track it. Height, weight, speed, strength, right? So it's pretty easy when a parent has a concern about, well, why isn't my son this, or why isn't my son that, or why haven't they, okay, let me show you. Let me pull everything up since the fall of 2018. Disciplinary, fire them shots because I got them all. So we're going to pull everything up, this whole track record, and you tell me how your son deserves. So
you blow them all up right there.
Right. And here's the other thing. And as a coach, like, I don't meet with parents, or let's just face it, I don't meet with handlers for the kids that have somebody in their life that is influencing them or telling them what to do. I don't meet with them without the kid present, because at the end of the day, the story that's coming out of a kid's mouth when I'm not there or when that parent isn't there is different, right? And so we're gonna lay it all out there, and then at the end of it, my hope is always that we're gonna come to an agreement and an understanding that we are doing everything we possibly can to best prepare your son to go be the dude he needs to be every single day. But
so you tell me, Coach, you hate kids? You know what I'm saying? You show favoritism. You don't treat all your kids the same.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, how many posts have you seen lately about favoritism and coaches talking about, you know, you do X, Y, and Z, and that's why you're my favorite? Like, it's not hard. Every kid in our program, it doesn't matter if they're a freshman who weighs 90 pounds or they're a senior who weighs 315 pounds. They get treated exactly the same as far as standards go. But the tone, the inflection, the conversation that I have with a kid who ain't doing right and ain't showing up and isn't taking care of their business compared to the cat that does everything right. And regardless of what grade they're in, you can be a freshman that does everything right. Guess what? Coach Delgado is going to love you up and give you the keys to the kingdom. Give you the keys to the kingdom. Or you could be a senior that's messed up every day, and I'm going to remind you that this time is coming to an end, because in my program, it's like this. As a freshman, you're a fool. You don't understand anything. You're going to make mistakes. I get that. Right? As a sophomore, you better have a better understanding of how those mistakes are affecting you and everybody around you. And you better start tightening them up, because by the end of your freshman year, in my mind, after January, you're a sophomore. Okay. Yeah. By the time you're a junior, you better be flying under the radar. You better not be a cat that causes any issues. You better be starting to help solve problems. And as a senior, there's no issues at all. You're an extension of our coaching staff, because you've been around us so long. We speak the same language. You are the one correcting and fixing the things that might go wrong in our program, because if you aren't, then you don't belong. And so they pretty much police themselves. Like when it comes to social media and things like that, I promise you, something gets put out there, another cat's going to tell them, bro, you better take that down. You better, you know what I mean? Or anything else.
But hey,
Coach,
Y'all go ahead,
Coach Delgado.
Yeah.
That's the danger of social media. That's the danger of social media. That it became a media platform, a bunch of baby media platforms. Listen, if I got 3 touchdowns and a nice big hit, and I put it on TikTok, run that thing on a loop, my mama got 20,000 followers. My girlfriend got all these followers. They're retweeting it. Listen, I'm a good football player. How you gonna tell me a whole bunch of people that's on show they don't know football, but I got those 3 touchdowns, that big hit, and I have a whole bunch of followers? How you gonna tell me I'm not good?
Well, here's the reality, and you know this. As soon as I talk to the coach who's going to recruit you, and it's not just recruiting you, right? It's their livelihood. If they take the wrong cat, they're fired.
But, hey, I'm playing devil's advocate. But
I know
a bunch of people on social media that don't know anything about football, but he got a whole bunch of followers, which means that he must be credible. And then he has 3 highlights. They might even make World Star Hip Hop. How are you going to tell him he's not good? Even though you coached him, you see him every day, but on social media, that is saying something completely different.
Well, I tell our kids this. Tony Dungy has a great a great quote that talks about how you talk about yourself, right? And he basically says, talent is God-given. Be thankful, right? What is it? Praise is man-given. Be careful, right? And the last one is conceit is self-given. Like you want to run away from that. And so I always tell our kids, God opposes the proud and gives grace to the humble. And so, you can talk about yourself all you want to. And if you feel like you have to, there's probably something wrong. There's probably a reason that your voice is the loudest when it comes to talking about your program about yourself. Because if it is, then there's you're hiding some things, right? So, and this is coming from a guy who's far from perfect. Like I'm the head coach of our football program, and I've got a really important job on our campus and in our community, right? I take that job so seriously. Like to me, the head coach's role and any coach, any program is more important now than it's ever been. Because guess what? Kids aren't getting values and gaining the knowledge or the moral, getting the moral compass that we did when we were going to Sunday school, when we were going to church on Sundays and Wednesdays because we were getting dragged there by our grandmas and our mamas. They're not getting that anymore. It ain't happening. So as when they come to us, if we're not using the platform to change that, like we're messing up, because guess what? They're the future leaders of our country. They're the future leaders of our community. And that's why we're in some of the messes we're in. So I firmly believe, if cats from positive programs ran the world, we'd be all right. But, we've got to change it one day at a time. And at the end of the day, to answer your question, how do I tell that kid he ain't good? I don't have to. The numbers do. The numbers never lie. You tell me you're this, that, guess what? That 1.9 GPA doesn't mean anything. And when you get recruited off of your 3 supposed clips, the first thing coach is going to ask me is this: what kind of person is he? What kind of a human being? Does he show up on time? Do his teachers like him?
What is grades like?
Oh, yeah, no question. That's after we've bridged that gap. Because you're right, that is first. If they ain't got the academics, it doesn't matter.
Hey, Coach Mike. I got a question for you. I mean, well, for both of you, but Coach Mike, at what year did you start coaching?
Hold on, you went out. All right, say it again.
What year did you start coaching?
I started coaching high school in 2010.
Oh, okay. Well, because I was going to ask you, did you get a taste of like the pre-Twitter era, and did you? I don't know when Twitter got popular around 2000. Were you pre-Twitter?
2010. It wasn't out yet.
I was, yeah.
Did you see a difference?
Yeah, you can see a difference, man. I've seen some kids that have big time scholarship offers, and they go on Twitter and do something. And this was early on. One of those guys, he ended up making it to the league, by the grace. But before then, guys got their big ups. I call them big ups. They got it through their teammates, through their community. I'm from a small little town in Georgia. Man, you talking about the 3 touchdowns. You do 3 touchdowns in a big game, everybody is gonna be all on you. So that was almost just as bad as Twitter, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Because I do think social media. I don't know. I sometimes I think it almost could be a gift and a curse because think about it is how do you grow if you have that one moment on a highlight reel? You start really feeling yourself. If you get that one moment just on a constant loop and you look at that moment and is like, how do you really grow from that?
And the tough part about that is everybody around you is watching it and throwing it in your face and it's like, oh, did you see this? Da, da, da. So it becomes a life of its own, right? And so, again, I just go back to James 4:6. God opposes the proud and gives grace to the humble. I tell our players when something really special like that is said about you or about our program, it's real simple. It's like poison, right? I think it was Nick Saban that talked about rat killers or rat poison, rat bait, whatever, a few years back. It's probably like 10 years now. Anyways, what I say is this: poison won't kill you unless you drink it. You can be around it all day long. As long as you don't drink it, it won't kill you. So you can hear that praise and equate it to poison. But as long as you don't start believing it and you don't start, sipping the Kool-Aid, then you're okay. As soon as you start thinking that you're good, as soon as you start thinking that you're set, as soon as you think that the offer you got is going to matriculate into the scholarship you'll receive and you stop working, you're already beat. Because there's somebody right behind you that's kept working, that's doing what they need to.
Hey, I want to ask all you coaches on the panel, and I know as a player, Andrew has that one moment. But is there ever been that one coaching like that one call or that one coaching moment that still makes you want to just punch at the air? Like, why did that do like really still haunts you?
Who's going first?
I'm talking about that one that'd be like, what up?
It was, you literally, it was in the playoffs, man, and you sit up and you just like, why you just ain't kick the field goal? You feel what I'm saying? The momentum would have shifted, and now you looking like a catfish in the face, and you just like.
Uh-huh.
But you got to understand, like Michael Jordan say, you're gonna miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And the outcome, with that situation is we play a game of, it's a win and loss battle every trip. If the offense, you got to understand there's 4 downs in football, and I can break that down to y'all when y'all understand this. But if you get 3.5 average yards a down, the offense is winning. But if the defense stops, gets negative, the defense is winning, and it's just literally one play at a time, one drive at a time.
I was talking about the Pete Carroll moment.
Oh, I'm telling you, the Pete Carroll moment. You feel what I'm saying? And that Pete Carroll moment right now would make everybody sat up here and said, everybody in the world, including me, why didn't he hand the ball off? But he saw something. He trusted his gut. It just didn't work out. The defense won.
And the thing, you can't coach like that. Now that's just my opinion. You can't coach like that because every situation you get into, it's gonna be a learning situation. We lost the championship game in 2012 on a missed field goal, mixed extra point. From that point on, I pay extra attention to special teams now. So. Yeah, it's always a learning curve and a learning opportunity.
All right.
Yeah, Coach Patterson, man. Like that championship, because Makali already had one. I mean, I guess hindsight is 2020, and does it really sometimes haunt you to think, what could have happened if you would have, hit that field goal and you guys would have got 2 championships? Does that really still haunt you though? Like you're like, man,
Listen,
it's 2 chips versus 1.
Listen, man, you're gonna have to talk to my psychologist, man. I'm just being honest. We should have won 3 championships in a row. We should have won 11, 12, and 13. But that one right there, to be honest, when we got the state runner-up, the medallion, I wore it that day, and then the next day, 2 days later, I came home and I brought it to my mom, and I've never put it on. Yesterday was the first time I put it on since 2012.
Wow.
Cole, what about your moment, Cole?
So, like I mentioned earlier about that state championship in 2013, we didn't win. We won one in 2012. We won one in 2014. And in 2013, we should have won it. And I'm not going to put this kid on blast. I'll never say his name. But there were 2 plays that were pivotal in that game. And it was the right call. It was the right call because it was a huge first down run for like 20 yards on counter. And the cat just tried to do too much. And in doing too much, he ended up fumbling. And it took away a scoring opportunity and gave South Dade a scoring opportunity back. Because, when you get to that level, every single possession matters. You can't afford to have a bad series. So that was one. And then the same cat fumbled again that game. And when that happens, honestly, fellas, I truly believe this. And it could be the same for a coach, right? You make the bad call, because I've made plenty of awful calls and lots of mistakes. I truly believe you have to reevaluate what you're doing, because in those situations at that level, when it gets to that point, if you ain't living right, you typically the ball just doesn't quite bounce your way. And so I firmly believe that, and I've seen it over and over again. Life has a crazy way of humbling you. You know what I mean? If you're standing too tall, you will get knocked to your knees quick, not by anybody except life. So the game is the same way. Football is life. It is the same way.
What's crazy is, like, the reason I even mention that is sometimes, like, those moments, bring you on a ride. They bring you on a ride, and you never know at the time that mistake that you made, that dumb mistake that you make, you never really realize sometimes that was the biggest blessing that you had. That was one of the best moments that you could, like, because you can remember those moments. You remember exactly what you're thinking about, and then the thing about it is like you can find yourself 10 years later, and you're like, man, you know what? I'm kind of glad I went through that.
Yes.
Because you start questioning everything. Then when you start questioning everything, you start questioning your lifestyle. You're like, why did I do that? Why did I have that thought process? So I tell, like, some people, man, it's just like, you got to understand failure sometimes is feedback. And it depends on what you do with that feedback. If that feedback can be negative, it gives you an opportunity to correct a lot of stuff.
That's
it's just
powerful.
like, it's the thing is like, you're going to fall, that I understand that Gatorade bath is great, but how do you stay hungry if you're not getting that Gatorade bath, like, every day? I mean, like, if you're getting that Gatorade bath all the time, even at practice and everything like that, there's probably going to be a time where you just like, you know what, I'm tired of this Gatorade bath. But if you're not getting that Gatorade bath.
Yeah, I'm literally writing down failures feedback. Like, that is powerful. That's so good. And I think you're right. I think at the end of the day, like, thank God for the struggles. But, it's crazy because, again, I firmly believe, and the kids in our program believe this too. They know it. What we're doing right now, today, in the weight room, on the field, when nobody's watching, when nobody knows, is leading directly to the outcomes we're going to see in big time situations, in big games. on Friday nights. That's the way it is. And so you can. Last year's a perfect example. COVID happens. We don't get the offseason we need in order to be competitive, period. We're not talented enough to just roll the ball out and go compete against the best of the best. And our schedule is set up to where we compete against the best of the best. We're going to play the best year in, year out area teams that we possibly can, because the last thing I want to do is go into the playoffs and get my face kicked in because we weren't ready to face against a real team. So that's number one.
Yes.
Number two, the success we had in 2018 hurt our program because the cats that didn't really do the work to make that season happen assumed they could do the same amount of work and have the same results in 2019. And it was not the case. 2019 was the worst season of my entire coaching career because of the individuals in our program and the mentality that they had after going 10-0 in 2018. And guess what, fellas? We didn't go 10-0. We didn't go 10-0. We went 10-1. We lost in the first round against Bloomingdale, and we were not ready. And I own that. I own that as a coach. But at the end of the day, our players also own that. Our players in our program now understand we're built different. Like, we can't be that team. We ain't that team. We ain't going to be that team. We got to be us. And we got to do everything in our power to be the best version of us that we can be every single day. And fellas, I got to tell you this. I got to log off this thing because I'm the head coach at Riverdale. But listen, look, I'll stay. But the head coach of my family trying to get on the road, and she's been looking at me sideways for the last half hour.
That's smart. Thank you. So I appreciate you, Coach, man. We're going to get ready to wrap this thing on up, man.
All right, fellas.
Leave us with your words of encouragement, my G.
Yeah, so, I just want to piggyback off of what Coach Delgado was saying today about using football as a tool to get a free education. And at the end of the day, that's really what football is for. Football is another avenue or another vehicle to get you to where you want to be at in life. So don't look at the D1, the D2s, and if you're a D1 looking down on D2, D3, NAIA, it's still an opportunity to get you where you need to be at in life and also to change the dynamic and the culture in your family. So that's what I got for you today.
I like it. I love it, man. Thank you, fellas, for tuning in. Everybody that's tuning in, connect your brand. Summer camp coming soon. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on all our social media platforms at Big Dream Sports TV. Triple B, you can catch my dog at No Cupcake Podcast. Make sure you get on that. Coach Mike, you feel me? Give him your handler so we can get on up out of here, my G.
You can go to Facebook, check out the Impact Media channel. Go to Facebook, check out the Impact Media channel. You can also go to YouTube, check out Impact Media Family. That's MMPAK Media channel.
What you got? What you got, Triple B?
Nothing, man. I just say shout out to everybody, man. Make sure you go check out No Cupcake Zone podcast, man. Check me up on YouTube. Check me up on Facebook, man. What I want to leave you guys with what Coach was talking about is just like sometimes when you go through these turbulent times in life, and years later you'll realize why you went through that. The 10-0, and then but it was really 10-1. Because he was 10-1. That a lot of times will those losses stick with you, and then the next morning you're there watching film and trying to figure out why. Those losses and those opportunities a lot of times are the biggest opportunities for growth. It's like even when you win, like when Coach Belichick them win or Nick Saban them win, like what? They probably right back in the film room right after they win the national championship or the Super Bowl. You know why? Because they don't want that feeling of losing again. They want to keep that edge. And if you got to approach life like that, you'd be like, man, you know what? That win felt so good. I never want to lose, so I want to keep. So I don't have to lose. So I just want to leave that with y'all.
Listen, I appreciate you, fam. Listen, we out of here. My bad, but we out.
Have you ever feeling rejected, neglected, or even dyslexic? Q&A, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Wisdom, knowledge, and guidance, we all seeking to find them. Q&A, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Adversity a part of life, sometimes we fail before we get it right. Q&A, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. No one is above the other. As brothers, we must uplift each other. Q&A, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.